For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Transformers video. Look, if you're watching this video, then you probably collect Transformers, right? And I'm sure you will know that in recent years, collecting has been getting even harder and harder just because of so many different factors. What I'm going to be doing is basically going in segments in this video, because usually the only time when I actually have some sort of formality to these discussions is when I'm doing the news videos, right? And, you know, I'll bring it up later, but let's just go bit by bit. So I'm going to break this down into 4 segments. I just said into twice. Oh my God. So let's just get into this, shall we? Starting off with the first section, that being the pricing. The prices for Transformers has always been an interesting thing for me because obviously I am in South Africa, meaning that shipping the Transformers to our stores is an absolute bomb. Now, that being said, just say $1 is like 16, 17 Rand, okay? And basically, back in 2019, our prices were, you know, pretty decent. I don't remember what the deluxes were. I think they might have been like 300 Rand, 400 Rand, which is like $15, $20. The Voyagers were 500 Rand, which, you know, completely understandable. That's like what, $30? And then the Leaders were 1,000 Rand. That's about maybe 60. And obviously back then that seemed like that was ridiculous. You know, the Voyagers, I think, were the most worth it. But now, of course, we have not gotten Transformers in almost 5 years. December of 2020. In fact, I'll probably put the images up. I went to the toy store and found Leader Class Scavenger and Shockwave. And little did, you know, like 14-year-old me know that that was going to be the last time that new Transformers would ever hit our shelves. But it was maybe after 2020 when I sort of fell out of love with Transformers figures because they were extremely pricey. And of course, I mean, given, you know, at the time I was like 14, so obviously I still broke a couple figures every now and then because of stupid things I would do. But also it would just be like arbitrary things, you know, I just like put it down, or I just bend, like I just turn a joint or something like that on the figure and something would break. And I was like, you know what? These things are too expensive and they break too easily. I'm done. And until 2022, I went on this hiatus of basically not getting a single Transformer. Cut now to, you know, post-pandemic. And that really screwed everything with the prices, because now, obviously, the things on shelves are very old. There's some Kingdom things. You know, every once in a while you maybe find a Siege figure. You know, a Studio Series 86 Cup and Blur, I think. You know, it's ridiculous. You have stupid things like this. And the deluxes are 750 Rand. That is about $43, $45, right? US. Voyagers are now $60. And Leaders, oh my God. Just bear that in mind. You know, deluxes have doubled the price, right? Voyagers are 1,000 Rand now. They've doubled the price. Leaders are 1,900 Rand. That is 110 US dollars.
No, it's too much. That's too much. No!
But the thing is, they are barely on the shelves. So what the hell is the point in pricing them so high? You are talking Kingdom things that are 4 years old. Why are they still on the regular price? And obviously, one thing that I found quite funny, for you I say Americans, right? It's most places. they freaking whatchamacallit, they increased the prices. And for most of them it wasn't by much. It was like what, like $4, $5. And then for the Voyages, I think it was like $8. So now you guys pay like what, $43, I want to say, $43, $44 for a Voyager class, which is still cheaper than they are here. And I just find it hilarious watching everyone squirm and cry about it. Like, I know most of you guys, have figures on your shelves and this price increase affects you, but I don't want to sound like a dick, right? But I even said it to Alfonso in the video I did with him. I told him, I was like, you Americans, you take everything you have for granted. I'm even pricing aside the distribution. If y'all don't see a new figure on the shelves after like 2 days or a week, y'all will say, "Oh, Hasbro, what is wrong with you guys? What is wrong with your distribution?" When there are places like here who haven't gotten things in half a decade. And it's funny how Hasbro knows that we exist. They haven't just like looked at a map of distribution places and just scratched South Africa off the list, because there are the shitty little kiddie toys that come to the shelves. Rise of the Beasts. We got the little Weapon Masters. The fucking the like gimmick thing. All the little gimmick toys. For Transformers 1, there's like what, 3 or 4 gimmick ones. We have one-step changes. This new like Cyberworld thingy. There's a Grimlock. There's a Soundwave. And I'm like, cool. But now you're just pissing me off even more, because you have established that you know that we exist and you are not sending us Generations figures. No Deluxes, Voyagers, Leaders, nothing. So yes, the pricing of these things are ridiculous. They are ridiculous, not just here, but, of course, in America as well. Of course, it all depends on the economy. But yeah, the pricing of these things are just getting out of hand, especially for things like a Commander class Optimus Prime, 80, like G1 Optimus, right? The same design that has been getting toys made for 40 fucking years, and you charge like, what was it, like $80 or something like that for it? They just chucked in the trailer so they can inflate the price. And that is a leader class sized figure. So I don't know, man. You honestly need to be a freaking billionaire in order to do this, because not only do you basically have to buy your figures exclusively online. And that's why, of course, pricing, it's all down to the cost of things. Like, the only reliable place that I can order things from is Amazon, because Amazon delivers things to your address. Any other place, they will just send it to the country's postal service. And I'm just going to say this, the South African postal service can go screw itself. They are absolute rubbish. Okay, I ordered Bumblebee, the Studio Series 100 Bumblebee from Big Bad Toy Store, and they lost the fucking package. And then I have to pay for Amazon, where I basically have to pay the figure's price for shipping. My one friend is in the UK, and he sent me pictures of what's on the shelves there, and there's no Hasbro things. He saw the Robosen Optimus Prime, he saw Blockies, no Studio Series, no Age of the Primes, nothing. So yes, the pricing and the distribution is a big factor to it, but this would not be a huge complaint if not for what we are about to talk about next. Going on to the second point, and that is the quality of the figures. If you go back to 2007, 2009, 2011, the OG trilogy of the Transformers movies had toys that were just impeccable. You look at the I say Studio Series, for God's sake. You look at the legendary, the Revenge of the Fallen Leader Optimus, and you say, you paid a leader class price for this. If Hasbro were to make that exact same thing in 2025, it would cost maybe 5 times the price. It would be more expensive than the masterpiece Optimus Prime. Back then, figures were durable. They were made of thick plastic. They were big. They were fun. And, it's a shame that I say that when Dark of the Moon came out, I was 5, okay? I wasn't going to be into Transformers. But still, I really just wish that I was able to experience that time. And you look at the figures nowadays, and it is absolutely ridiculous. You look at the prices of the figures, which of course I have already spoken about for, ages, but look at what you are paying for. The figures now are microscopic. They are so freaking tiny. Obviously, yes, I know Bumblebee. Bumblebee is a very small character, but I feel like charging the same price as just say the 86B, the 86 Bumblebee, being the same price as KSI Widow, for example, that is absolutely ridiculous. Those two products should not be the same price. Deluxes are an absolute scam because they cost so much and they are so tiny. Even Studio Series, in its first, you have the 2 eras of Studio Series. You have the first era and the second era. The first era was 2021 and before, right? That was the Studio Series at its peak, in my opinion, because they were affordable, but they were also they were fairly sizable at the time. And the deluxes, I would happily pay a deluxe price for, one of the deluxes from back then. Sure, they weren't as, amazingly engineered as the ones nowadays, but still, they were damn good. Voyagers are getting smaller by the day, and they are barely taller than deluxes now. I could be exaggerating, but a deluxe figure will come to a Voyager's stomach or, their chest. It's ridiculous. And I always said that Voyagers were the best figure, it was the best bang for your buck because they were decently sized and they didn't cost that much. I can't even fathom the fact that a Voyager in 2019 cost only, $30? I would die for a price like that nowadays. But now you're paying so much for a figure that is freaking tiny. And not only that, Hasbro is they just don't know how to paint things. There are barely any figures nowadays that I can actually say are well painted. Any come to my mind, they just can't do properly. I think probably the best instance, especially from this year, is the Studio Series Age of Extinction Optimus Prime. I love that figure. I think that he is way too small. And, the paint is absolutely ridiculous. It's literally just that drab gray plastic. And, back in the day, I say back in the day, literally just a couple years ago, if we saw this on a Hasbro figure, we would say, Hasbro, what are you doing? But now it's just such a common thing that we have just gotten used to it. Hasbro doesn't bother painting, many things silver anymore, or hell, even a dark gray. There's barely any paint on the figures nowadays. The paint is one aspect, and the figure itself is another, because I've already spoken about the size and the paint, but talk about the actual thing that you are paying for. Look at, let's just say, the TF1 Sentinel, right? TF1 Sentinel Prime, Studio Series. It obviously has his robot mode. It has his vehicle mode, which they didn't really have to do anything for. They could just make something up, like what they did with the Fallen. And then you have his battle mode. Battle mode is barely anything. It's just 4 swivels, just say 6 pins, and a piece of plastic. That's all it is. And what does Sentinel Prime come with accessory-wise? Not his sword. The one weapon that he used in the movie, and they didn't even bang two fucking brain cells together and decide, you know what, we should give him his sword. They went, no, let's give him his shield that he uses for about 2 frames. And I know that was the thought process, because they went, we have to do the battle mode. That's a lot of engineering. That's very complicated. We can't put the sword in. That'll be too expensive. Oh my God. Hasbro will not do something and then act like they're doing us a favor by not doing it. They're like, well, if we did this, then we couldn't have done this, It is absolutely horrific. And especially, you look at, the figure I was just talking about, Optimus Prime, right? The Studio Series Age of Extinction Prime. He, obviously, barely any paint, decent engineering, I'll give them that, but really, really small. I got one of my deluxe figures, I think it was from the last night, and I put it next to Prime, and they are basically the same size. You look at a Voyager from back then compared to a leader class now, and it is pitiful. You look, that's just ridiculous, especially just looking at the concept of the leader class figures. They are no longer these big fun things that you can play with. They are just Voyagers with extra accessories. Because within like the reasonable price range, right? Because from Commander onwards, that's like an arm and a leg. Within the reasonable price range of like deluxes, Voyagers, leaders should be like the best of the best. They should have silver paint. They should have just amazing quality of plastic, great, quality control, and most importantly, actually be leader class sized. A leader class from like 2011 would be a freaking Titan class nowadays. Leader class is just Hasbro pulling things out of their asses because they go, oh, okay, figure. The figure will just, just make a Voyager class. Don't put any paint, just make a Voyager. And accessories, just put that thing and put that thing, and there you go. There we go. There's a leader class. And it is so, so frustrating. I'm honestly amazed that Optimus even came with his shield or sword, because look at like the OG Dark of the Moon Studio Series Sentinel Prime. That figure didn't even come with a shield. Hell, he didn't have a painted sword. The one side of the sword was the fire truck emblem, and the other side was just grey. Like, where was the logic, Hasbro? And then you get to nowadays, and yes, obviously, Optimus, I'm amazed that they even gave him the sword. I'm surprised they didn't give him like some arbitrary accessory. Like give him the seed or something. Honestly, that sounds more like Hasbro. Don't give him his sword of judgment and give him his seed. Give him the seed. That sounds like something they would have done. It's amazing that Optimus got the accessories he did. Don't know why they gave the blade that he used in one scene as opposed to the shotgun, but anyway. And that leads me to my third point, which is upgrade kits. Of course, in 2025, if you go on like AliExpress or eBay, there are countless, and I mean countless, upgrade kits for whatever figure you're looking for, whether it be a Hasbro figure, a deluxe leader, whatever, like third-party figures, it doesn't matter. There's upgrade kits for it. And upgrade kits, I think, are a difficult thing to judge, because of course you are paying a decent price, not even for a figure. You're paying a decent price just for like an arm or a gun or something like that, just something so freaking tiny. Of course, the biggest and most popular company when it comes to the design kits is DNA Design. The design kits, the upgrade kits. DNA Design is obviously famous for their upgrade kits. They were extremely, extremely good. And, the pricing wasn't that bad. I still think that it was a bit too much for what you were actually getting. But, they were all right. 2023, I think, is when they really started pushing it, because for Scourge, they included a bunch of useless upgrades and accessories. and they charge basically the price of the actual leader class Scourge for it. That is absolutely ridiculous. And, again, especially for the Studio Series figures, with the first couple years of Studio Series, DNA Design would only make what people actually wanted for the figure, what we needed. Like for Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime is a great example because there they gave him the shield, they gave him his sword, I'm pretty sure they gave him the rust cannon. They gave him basically everything that he was missing. It was really, really, really good. And then you get to nowadays and they are unbelievably expensive and just have so much unnecessary shit. I mean, this isn't the worst example, but I'm just on the website now. And just for a fusion cannon, $11. That's actually not that bad, but still, oh my God. I think the one, that really, apart from Scourge, really got people pissed off was one for the SS-86 Optimus, because you get a fusion cannon, an arm, some chest piece, Megatron, a head, and like some tiny pieces. And that's almost $40. That's almost a Voyager class price just for a couple accessories. Genuinely, what the hell, man? That is ridiculous. Oh my God. I've never seen this one, but this looks terrible. It's just a couple, I assume, filler pieces, maybe some facial expressions, a new head, a chain, posable hands, a gun, and a blast effect for $30. What the hell are you doing? Like the upgrade kit for Nemesis Prime, I guess, still almost $50. Still way too much, I think. Just way too much. But that at least is like more understandable, I guess, just like a little bit. Because I mean, you do get some cool accessories and also some things that actually do help the figure, like the feet. The feet are obviously something that needed to be improved. The shoulders needed to be improved. So yeah, I'm not really sure why they don't release it in separate pieces, in separate kits. Why do they chuck everything for a figure into one kit? You can just have, you can buy the cannons, or you can just buy the feet and stuff like that, So I'm not sure why they don't do that. Even just separating it into upgrades for the figure itself and upgrades for accessories. I think that would be really, really cool. But no, DNA Design just shoves it all into one and puts a ridiculous price tag on it. The fact that we even need upgrade kits for figures is just ridiculous because it's for such simple things as well. It's like, I want the truck bed to look not stupid and ridiculous. So now I gotta spend $80 million just to buy 2 pairs of feet to put it on there. I know this is unrelated, but I'm just gonna say that for those of you who do like getting upgrade kits and stuff, I highly, highly recommend AliExpress. They are really, really good. There's a lot of stuff there. I mean, I haven't ordered on AliExpress in 1.5 years because of the South African post office being fucking useless. But still, I order from DP Robot Store. They are awesome. They are freaking awesome. So yeah, I do recommend, buying upgrade kits and stuff from there because it is really cheap. So yeah, upgrade kits are freaking ridiculous. And the fact that we even need them, I think, just speaks volumes to Hasbro's incompetence. And now moving on to the final point, which really is just the biggest factor to, ruining the collecting experience when it comes to official Transformers. And that is third-party figures / knockoffs. Look, my channel. I cover a lot of third-party and knockoff news. Anything that comes out, I cover it because I want to bring it to the community's attention, because obviously these are knockoffs and things of figures that'll cost a bomb. I say that'll cost a bomb. That do cost a bomb. And there's many reasons why knockoffs are preferred nowadays. Look, I'd say the first company that, really stuck out was APC Toys, because of course they did basically knockoffs and, just awesome renditions of the Transformers Prime figures. And I mean, I don't know when I'm uploading this, but one of my latest ones, I think literally the last video, I showed the APC Toys Skyquake and Dreadwing. And, that just shows, they are still making figures, and that is freaking awesome. But of course, for the movie fans, the biggest company that really made a big splash in the pool was Byway. Byway absolutely owned the Transformers fans' love in 2024, 2023, hell, even 2022. It was just ridiculous. Their things got better with every release, and I have so many of their figures. I have Jetfire, I have Nemesis Prime, I have Ironhide, Sentinel Prime, the upgrade kits for any Studio Series Optimus. They are just amazing. And the best part? They cost the same price, sometimes cheaper than the official figures. Now, of course, this is, in account of the fact that, well, for certain figures anyway, the plastic quality is not as good, but I'm going to be honest with you. The figures that I have, at least, I think apart from Nemesis Prime, but that could just be the mold, apart from Nemesis Prime, I love all of the figures that I have. They all feel pretty good, especially like joint-wise. Most of them are pretty damn good. Piss off, helicopter. But yes, they cost sometimes less than the actual figure themselves, and they come with more accessories. Because of course, they are making a figure off of an already established, figure. Literally what they're doing. They're just taking something that's already been engineered, and they are just making the same figure with minor changes. So of course, that gives them the budget to add more stuff. Look at their Sentinel Prime. Yes, I don't really like the head sculpt of that Sentinel Prime, but, it's more articulated at least. But because, of course, they didn't have to pay anyone for the engineering and stuff, you paid the same price, and what do you get? You get, yes, the same shitty sword, but you get an actual sword. You get a shield. You get the rust cannon. You get the new, back pieces, the wing bits. And you even get the little harpoon thing that goes on his arm. It's so good. Just all of these figures, they are basically Hasbro and DNA Design put into one, because they took the figures that everyone, was looking for, and it was regardless of release, whether the figure is 6 years old or 2 months old, they would just make a figure of it. They would look at everyone's criticisms of it, and they would fix it. They go, oh, okay, these people didn't like the shoulders of this figure. They didn't like the waist of this one. They didn't like the lack of weapons here. Chuck that in. Ironhide. The Studio Series Ironhide is basically perfect, apart from the fact that the bumper of the vehicle can't fold away. What did Byway do? They made it fold away. And yes, I know that I'm specifically just praising Byway, but I'm talking about third-party and knockoff companies as a whole, because they take these things. Yes, obviously it is illegal, but in this day and age, when things are this expensive, this is the way to go. It's difficult, explaining it to someone as a collector and saying, oh, the knockoff things are better, because you are getting something that has been made by a company that likely, has, the plastic is almost as good as the actual figure. You get, more accessories, you get better articulation or sculpting or whatever it is, and it's just much more cost effective. Unfortunately, nowadays, it seems like we have to just rely on random companies, because I don't know what happened to Byway, but they have just fizzled out. The last big thing that they released was the Bumblebee movie Dropkick. They're oversized Studio Series Dropkick. That was it. Editing Shabba here. They literally released these images of the Byway Legacy Optimus an hour after I recorded that segment. Since then, barely anything. I haven't heard a single thing. I don't know what happened to them. They have just vanished from the face of the earth. And it is so, so, so sad because they were a really, really reliable company. And basically, within those like 3 years, 2022 to 2024, I literally just sat there going, oh, okay. Hasbro, when a Hasbro reveal happened, I was like, cool, this looks nice, but I'll just wait for the Bioware one. And that's it. That's literally what happened. The Bioware Jetfire is one of the best things I have. I'm so happy that I bought it. But of course, look at third-party companies. Unique Toys is probably the most famous because, of course, they are known for their black magic of being able to take such an accurate robot mode and turn it into the alt mode, which looks practically perfect. I don't know how they do it, but third party, man. Third party is the way because, yes, you are paying a much higher price, but you are paying for a big figure. You're paying for a big figure with a lot of accessories, with phenomenal engineering. It's basically Masterpiece, but better. Apologize for the audio change. I've changed environments. But yes, Unique Toys is able to create these remarkable figures because they do not have to abide by anything that Hasbro has to do. No child safety thing, no budget, no like super, super tight restriction. Unique Toys just makes the figure and then sets a price for it. And that is just, it's awesome. It really, really is. But really, that's only useful when it comes to sort of MPM, comparisons, because realistically, no normal person is going to be buying the Unique Toys figures. Those are like the creme de la creme, the best of the best. And of course, yes, they are expensive, but I think that when comparing it to what Hasbro does with their money and what they produce, I actually do think that the Unique Toys figures are much, much more worth it. Are they more expensive? Yes. I know they are not cheap, but I just think that, again, given what you are paying for, Unique Toys absolutely clears Hasbro in every single way. And I know I'm sort of talking trash about Hasbro, but it's not fair. It really isn't because, again, as I said, Hasbro has a lot of guidelines to abide by. But come on, man, really, you're making Voyager-size leader classes. Just, like, come on. You can't just say, oh, it has more parts, so it needs to be a leader class. And that's why a lot of the community is sort of straying towards the knockoff side of things because, again, there's a lot of knockoffs out there from random companies, but realistically, Bioware and APC Toys are the two most reliable ones. And since recording the Bioware segment of this video, they revealed like more images of their Legacy Optimus Prime, which I'm sure I'll put a segment in there, maybe. So yeah, that just shows how things can change between recording segments of a video. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The third-party figures are, of course, really who you go to for like MPM things. Maybe like every once in a while you will get something that isn't an MPM scale figure. Like that tiny Optimus Prime, the one that's like the size of a freaking Coke can. That one, that's pretty cool. But it's not in scale with anything, that people have nowadays. But yeah. Knockoffs are the way. Knockoffs are the way. And I know I've been saying it for a while now. Okay, I talk a lot. Relax. Even if I repeat things, I do apologize. But with the knockoffs, especially nowadays, they are sometimes better quality than the freaking Hasbro figures. You get a reasonable amount of accessories, and, if they are, a good company like Bioware, and they don't just copy the figure one-to-one, they will actually improve the figure. So, it is realistically like a 50-50 shot as to whether a KO, like if you just go on like AliExpress or something and buy a KO, it's like a 50-50. that it will be, whether it'll be good or bad. But I genuinely do think that this is the way to go for Transformers. The only problem with this is that obviously they are only KOs of certain figures. Like on Amazon, there is a KO of the Commander class Optimus Prime, the 86 Prime, for like $10. That is crazy. That is freaking awesome. But yeah, again, they don't make KOs of everything. It is mainly the movie figures that, they do this for. But even then, not everything. So yes, I would just love to know what you guys think of the state of Transformers collecting, because there's a lot. There's a lot to consider as a collector, Back in the day, it used to. I would love to keep count of how many times I say "back in the day" in this video, but years ago, it would be somewhat. It was just simpler. It was easier because you would pay, yes, still a decent price, but you got something that was way, way, way more worth your money. Now, there are very, very few figures that I actually say are worth the price that they ask for. Even when looking at Studio Series, the fall off needs to be studied. Look, I know I've been ragging on leader classes a lot, but look at the very first leader classes of Studio Series: Grimlock and Blackout. I say Blackout, I have the Grindor mold. The Grindor that I have is my favorite official Transformers figure that I own. I love it because it has a great robot mode. He's big, he's heavy, an amazing vehicle mode, and an awesome transformation. Grimlock, I have the oversized KO of it, but even looking at him in the box, the actual Studio Series 1, he is big. He is a big, big boy. And I just don't know what that would cost if Hasbro were to make that nowadays. I mean, they are making, a Titan class Grimlock, which, I'm just saying this, I suggest that you guys get the Black Mamba Ancient Leader. Okay, get that one, trust me. It's cheaper. It is literally just the oversized Grimlock, plus you get LEDs. You also get some cool accessories. The Titan class is gonna be like 5 or hell even more maybe, times the price of the Ancient Leader, and it's so similar to the original Leader class. It is not worth it. It is not worth it, but that's just my opinion. You just look at those figures now. I know I got sidetracked. Look at those Leader classes and look at what we have now. We get like a third of what we used to. So yeah, it's definitely a very, very tricky situation, and I don't know when this video is going to be uploaded, because as of recording this, I have 2 assignments due in like 3 days, and I haven't finished either of them. But I really would like your guys' input here. What do you think is the biggest factor affecting Transformers right now? Is it the pricing? Is it the actual quality of the figures? Is it the fact that Hasbro is just freaking lazy? They're greedy. They are greedy. They are greedy as hell. Because, yes, they've increased the prices. And, of course, tariffs and everything plays a part into that. Yeah, I know, economy. But at what point do you, stop blaming other things and just go, yeah, it is just corporate greed? Because the price increase should not be that high. Whew. Oh my god. I think this is the longest video that I've made just talking about Transformers figures. But yes, please, anything and everything, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.